Hello, everyone. If you wouldn't mind muting yourself, if you're not already muted, we're excited to see you all today, and we're going to get started in just another minute. We're going to just give it a little bit longer in case anyone else joins. But hello and happy Monday. My name is Jackie Phillips, and I'm the Senior Coordinator for Student Engagement and the new Department of Engagement, Leadership, and Service. We're so excited you all joined us today to get some of your questions answered, and we're incredibly thankful that staff from CRETS are here as well to answer any questions and to give you more information about the guidelines for student organizations moving into the fall. I'll let Taylor introduce herself as well.
Hey everyone, my name is Taylor Kane. I serve as Director of the new Engagement, Leadership, and Service Department. First off, thank you for joining in and hearing from our Campus Reservations colleagues this afternoon. I know all of you have probably plenty of questions, or at least just want to check this out and see what's going on. Our promise to you and ELS is that we will continue to host Zoom events like this regarding student organization operations, especially those that have been or will be impacted by the COVID-19 virus. So please keep tabs on our listserv that you can find on our website. And we've got additional resources that are coming. If you haven't seen them yet, we also just last week released the student organization guidelines regarding COVID-19. And as always, if you have any questions regarding your organizations or involvement on campus, you can reach out to our email address, which is just ugaels@uga.edu. But thank you again for attending, and I'll kind of kick it over to Jackie to introduce our CRETS colleagues.
Yes, and if any questions come up throughout the session, feel free to throw them in the chat. I also just want to share with everyone that this is being recorded, so if you'd prefer not to have your video shown, feel free to mute your video, just because this will be sent out over our student organization listserv. But I just wanted to let you all know that. But I'm going to hand it over to Greg Kirby, who is the director of CRETS, as well as his staff, and they'll each introduce themselves and then provide more information about campus reservations for the fall.
Well, hello everyone, and thanks for joining us. The information continues to change on a weekly basis, so the information we're going to give you today is the information we know today. We are expecting more updates within the coming weeks, and we'll continue to update our website and our information as we move forward. I'm going to have the CRETS team just kind of introduce themselves. These are the senior coordinators within the Office of Campus Reservations. They'll do a quick little hello, and then I'll switch over and do a screen share and begin the slide presentation. Let's start with our senior coordinator for campus reservations, specifically Ashley Johnson.
Hello, I'm Ashley, and as Greg mentioned, I'm the senior coordinator for campus reservations. I work very specifically with small meetings and events in classrooms, so that's academic buildings throughout campus, as well as the small meeting rooms in Tate Student Center and Memorial Hall Ballroom. I also work with, as well as my team, Mary and Kiana, we work with table spaces, outdoor spaces around Tate, as well as around campus like Hurdy Field or Jaworski Amphitheater. And we work with the promotional spaces such as banner spaces. Street painting is no longer a thing.
All right. Introduced Michael Rabelais, who is our senior coordinator for event services.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael. My team and I work regarding events in the Tate Student Center and Memorial Hall. So if you book an event in Tate Grand Hall or Legion Field, Memorial Hall Ballroom, Reception Hall, we're the teams that serve those spaces. Looking forward to answering everybody's questions.
We have another senior coordinator for event services who specializes at the UGA Chapel, Dennis Sisko.
Hi everyone, I'm Dennis. As he said, I work with the chapel and another venue called Quarters A that's not currently online right now. But yeah, so if you have any questions about the chapel, how we're handling all this, and what kind of events you can have there, just let me know.
And then finally, our last senior coordinator is Matt Fortunato, our technical services coordinator.
Hey everybody, my name is Matthew. I'm the Senior Coordinator of Technical Services for CRETS, and I deal with the technical side of all of our events. So audio, lighting, and video mostly.
All right, I'm gonna do a little quick screen share here and we'll begin the slide presentation. All right, everyone see that good? All right. So welcome everyone. We just did our introductions here. This is our senior coordinator team. There's more to our more staffing in our office, but these are the ones that I invited for today's presentation. So I thought I would just dive right in. I think the biggest thing that everybody wants to know is, can we book space in and the MLC? So I want to talk a little bit about academic reservations to begin with. So as you all know, COVID-19 has kind of thrown a little bit of a monkey wrench into the fall classroom schedule. So we share academic spaces with the registrar's office. So what the registrar's office is doing right now is they are reworking all of the class schedule for the fall semester. As you've probably seen in some of the email correspondences from the university, they're adding 5 additional minutes in between classes. And they're also taking larger classes that may be over a number of participants, and they're dividing a single class into multiple sections. That means they're trying to figure out where to then put those duplicate classes to lower the capacity of people within a particular classroom. So the registrar's office has a big task ahead of them right now, and they're still in the process of reworking that fall class schedule. What they've done for us right now is they've asked us to hold off on reserving space in any academic classes right now. That does include the MLC. What we've been told is once they finish and finalize the fall schedule, they're going to let the first week of classes proceed forward and give the faculty an opportunity to make any additional last-minute changes for the semester. That's what we call the drop add season. So once drop add is completed, then we will have a better idea of what space is going to be left over in academic buildings. In particular, most of you want to know about the MLC. Once drop add is completed, we should have a better idea, and we're going to be reaching back out to the registrar's office and to the MLC facilities folks specifically to say, all right, what does your space look like? When are your building hours? What are your building hours going to be like for the fall? Once we have that information, we'll have more information for you all as of August 31st. So I highly encourage you to check out our website, reservations.uga.edu. Come back to us on August 31st. Now, those are for classroom spaces. However, we do have more spaces available other than academic buildings across campus. So let's kind of come closer to home and talk about the Tate Student Center, Memorial Hall, and the UGA Chapel. These student affairs facilities are currently now open and available for limited reservations. So what do I mean by limited reservations? Well, because of COVID-19, we've had to take a look at all of our meeting spaces and our large event spaces and lower the capacity numbers in all of those spaces. So we've done that by changing the numbers in which you can say you're having people in a reservation in our reservation system. So the list of all of our capacity numbers can also be found as a link on the first page of our Campus Reservations website. For example, if you were looking to host a weekly meeting for 25 people, a room that typically you would normally go to that had 25 people has now been reduced to 5 people due to a 20% capacity. Our hope is starting with 20%, and if the COVID numbers get better in the state of Georgia and here in Athens, then we have the ability to change that percentage. We might go from 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and so forth. So that's always going to be fluid, and those numbers will continue to change. We will continue to update our first page of our website with those new capacity numbers and in our reservation system. The other changes within these three facilities, Tate Student Center, Memorial Hall, and the UGA Chapel, is a lot of the rooms, to give you the maximum capacity in a room, we've pre-designated some rooms. Like, for example, if you would have gone into a room that would have had tables and chairs, we've gotten rid of all the tables just because of the safety element, to be able to keep that room safe. And now there's only chairs in that room. There are still options in the Tate Student Center that still will allow you to choose your own type of setup, but those are few and far between now. And those, we have 2 rooms on the 4th floor. The other adjustment made to these student affairs facilities are the building hours. The building hours have been adjusted. So our facilities folks, our FMD, Facilities Management Division, can come in later on in the evening and do some really deep cleaning of all of our spaces within the buildings. Here are our new building hours for the Tate Student Center and Memorial Hall. Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 p.m. That's different from what we've typically done in the past. And then Saturdays and Sundays, we open a little later than normal. We only open at 12. Memorial Hall, Monday through Friday, 8 to 8 p.m. And Saturdays and Sundays, that building will open at 12. The UGA Chapel has been taken offline in the mornings up until about 3 o'clock, but our hours still remain as the same on the chapel, and will go until about 11 p.m. based on the events you want to hold in the UGA Chapel. So from 3 to 11 will basically be your chapel hours. That's a little bit about our meeting spaces, and we'll go on to tabling, and then we'll go on to large events. So let's talk a little bit about tabling. The entire Tate Student Center has been kind of changed a little bit. It's currently closed and will reopen on August 13th. And once it reopens, a lot of the furniture has been removed to allow 6 feet social distancing within the scope of the building. One of the things about 6 feet social distancing is we've made the executive decision that indoor tabling will not be permitted this fall semester. This will allow the operations people to maintain a 6 feet social distancing within the building as you walk around. Now, what we have done to kind of compensate for no indoor table spaces, we have added some more outdoor tabling locations for your reservation preferences. If you know the tabling locations underneath the awning, right as soon as you come out the door, that's called our Tate Plaza table locations. We've got some there, which is adjacent to the Tate Plaza. Then we have the Tate Promenade area, which is the long corridor outside that goes all the way down toward the street, down toward Bolton. We've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 more outdoor table spaces on the promenade area. Now, realize tabling will be outside, and it will be within the weather. So if it's raining, you still have the option whether you choose to be out there in the weather, or you can choose to cancel your reservation on the morning of if we do have inclement weather for no charge. Now remember, guidelines even for outside for tabling, still you need to remember 6 feet social distancing behind the table, and encourage those people who are coming to your table to have 6 feet social distancing. That will be your responsibility. Outdoor locations. So this would be places like the Tate Plaza, Memorial Plaza, all of the lawn spaces that surround the Tate Student Center, Legion Field across the way, and also the lawn spaces across campus like Hurdy Field or Jarowski Amphitheater. Right now, we don't have a lot of guidance on numbers for the outdoor spaces at this point. The university is waiting as long as they can to closer to the start of school to determine what the large event gathering numbers are going to be once we get closer to school. We're waiting on that guidelines, those guidelines and those guidances like you are as well. But what we do recommend is that if you are looking to host an event to gather some people, particularly in those outdoor locations that I just mentioned, reserve those now. And you can reserve those now. Once we receive that guidance from the university, then an event coordinator will be back in touch with you to send you a final confirmation with the guidance given. For example, let's say you reserve a space for 150 people out on West Lawn. West Lawn can definitely hold 150 people, but if the university says that your capacity has to be lowered, or guidance says that 100 people can only gather at one time, then your 150 event will come back to you and say, well, now you have to lower your capacity number to 100. Those are questions we still do not have answers to, and we're still trying to gather right now. Once the university has those guidelines, we'll let you know what those will be. All right. Let's talk a little bit about large event spaces. These are spaces like the Tate Grand Hall, the Tate Theater, Legion Field, and Memorial Hall Ballroom, and the UGA Chapel. Much like the outdoor spaces, since we're talking about a large number of people, we are still waiting to determine what UGA is going to say the large gathering guidelines will be. Today, the state of Georgia, the governor has issued that large gatherings can only be in the state currently 50 people. That expires at the end of the month, by the end of this week. Whether he's going to extend that or whether the university decides to make their own policies regarding what that large gathering numbers. That's kind of where we're in with this waiting game right now for large event spaces. However, if you know you want to host an event in any of these locations, like the outdoor spaces, you can reserve those now, reserve that now. We'll give you a tentative confirmation. And then once we have the guidance on what a large event gathering number is, what that magic number will be, then your event coordinator will work with you on what that could look like. So, with all of these uncertainties on what we know and what we don't know, here's some alternative options that we're highly recommending that you do. Because we don't want you to have to wait until the start of school to start figuring out how you all can engage as student organizations or as a department. Right now, some spaces are not available. That's just going to be part of the game. We know that some spaces are not available. For example, the Tate Theater right now is not available. The UGA Chapel is not available until 3. Those are some of the limitations that we're working with right now. Within the Tate Student Center, because we had to social distance a lot of the furniture, some of those rooms are now being used as storage room, and those rooms are now offline. Space is limited, especially when it comes to the capacity numbers. So what we're doing is we're highly recommending that you use alternative online methods like Zoom. Be creative. One thing you could do is if you wanted to have your core exec team meet within the guidelines of the capacity numbers of a room, then you can use Zoom to reach your members during that time frame. I think that would be a great and creative way for you to engage with your constituents within your meeting. What are the changes within our own particular office? Obviously, all the services, we want to be able to offer all of the same customer service and offerings that we offer on a normal basis, even without COVID. Our office will be open once the Tate Student Center opens on August 13th. However, the best way to get a hold of us still is going to be by email or phone. If you do come to our office, we're going to have a sign outside that says, please ring the bell for assistance. You've probably seen this traditionally in an office. Ring the bell for service. We'll have staff members that will come outside of the office, kind of assess what you need, and we'll have all the documents there ready for you. We'll have business cards so you can connect with a specific person. We'll have a way for you to pay your reservations on a separate sheet of paper that will tell you how to pay a reservation. And if the question still needs to be addressed, we'll help you set up a meeting with one of our event coordinators so you can have that one-on-one interaction. So interface with our office will be slightly different as well. One of the newest changes I think that came with our office because of COVID-19 is we never actually had an online method to pay for your reservations. Now we do. So when you are sent your invoice to pay for your reservation, there'll be a new link that we're incorporated into all of our invoices that will allow you to pay by credit card online through this link that we have now established. The same other traditional methods of payment will still be applicable. If you have a department account number or a chart string number at the university, you can still email us that. You can also send our office a check. Those are still payment options as well. But I wanted to make you all aware what's new in our office is you can now pay your reservations online. With that being said, it is now time for questions and answers. So I'm going to stop my screen share so we can maybe see you all a little better and give you an opportunity to ask questions. So Jackie, I think let's start with some of the chat questions first, and then we'll go to the other questions that may pop up in person here.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Greg. So the first question from Hannah is, do you recommend having monthly meetings of around 15 to 20 people over Zoom for the semester instead of trying to book a room in MLC?
At this point of time, I would say yes. Ashley, if you want to jump in on the MLC question specifically, you can add a little more if you want.
Sure. I would urge everyone to keep in mind that there are 700 plus student organizations and many with many different needs, and compound this with the fact that the 5 minutes are being added in between each class. What would be a typical class end of about 5:36 has now moved up to about 7. And Greg, have we talked about potential adjusted hours in the MLC?
We have not at this point, and I'll be honest with you all, the MLC is also going to be looking at closing their building early as well. So the reality is the really only time frame we're looking at to get, if we are allowed to put student organizations in the MLC, it's going to be between 7 and 9 only.
So you have that. In addition, you have a lot of factors here. Of course, there's going to be space available. However, it is definitely going to be first come, first serve, with about 2.5 to 3 hours available. So the likelihood of you getting space the way you have in the past is going to be much smaller than it has been. So I would say the safe bet is to assume that you're going to Zoom, and then if you can get a room, get a room.
Absolutely.
There are other academic buildings that will be available. Many people love the journalism building as an option, or Sanford or Caldwell. There are a few organizations that like South Campus. Many buildings that we do on all ends of campus. But again, assume that you will Zoom and just get a room as a backup, because that's not a guarantee. And that 15 to 20 number that you mentioned, that's a pretty good safe number. Most rooms on campus are small. That's something that's true across all of campus. We have about 20 to 25 large lecture spaces. So most groups that like to do the large meetings because they want to meet with their entire organization of 100 to 300 people or even more, that's not going to be possible. It's simply from the new social distancing capacities that have been given by the university. And these were determined by space management within the university. So I would adjust expectations if you haven't done so already.
Great. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is actually a two-part. I'm going to start with Taylor for asking about whether or not some of these restrictions apply to specific office spaces, such as the Greek Life office, as well as can organizations hold meetings and events off campus?
Sure. So Jack, thanks for your question. In terms of how offices on campus are kind of overseeing their space with regard to social distancing, that is entirely up to those individual departments and units. And so if I was you, I would check in with Josh Welch and the other staff members in Greek Life to see how they're going to decide their space. In the next couple of weeks, our department, ELS, will release our own expectations and guidelines about how our space can be used. I know many of you utilize our space throughout the year for student organization work and meetings. Unfortunately, meetings are likely not going to be possible unless it's like 2 people sitting 6 feet apart. But we'll certainly have more information as it comes about. And then I can go ahead and answer Naima's question as well about whether or not events off campus, meetings and events can occur off campus. While what we are sharing today is expectations and guidelines for on campus, we strongly recommend that you make good decisions that are in the best interest of the health and safety of your membership and of yourselves. What I have asked student organizations that we advise is that, are you potentially doing more harm than good to host your meeting or event in general? Now, I can't tell you whether or not you can host your event off campus. That's going to be up to the venue that you decide to host that at. But what I can share with you from the perspective of our department is that we are asking you to make good decisions that ensure that as best you can the health and safety of your membership and event attendees. Many of our organizations have already decided they will not be hosting any events or meetings during August or September, and that they will reassess throughout the beginning of the semester of what October and November may look like. So while I can't necessarily give you a yes or no answer, I would just strongly caution you to use good judgment, to follow guidelines from the Department of Public Health, as well as the Centers for Disease Control, and just keeping up with what local and state officials are saying are the expectations.
And then there was also a question of whether or not there's a space within Tate that could hold 35 people per meeting.
I'll take that, Greg, if that's okay. And then Michael, I'll shoot to you. I started this because typically you would come to a small meeting room for that many. None of the small meeting rooms will fit more than 30. That's correct. More than 30 cannot fit in any small meeting rooms, which then takes you into a large meeting space with Michael.
Yeah, to add to that, I think that I went in and set reception hall today. So reception hall wouldn't hold 35 people also. So within Tate, you'd be looking at Grand Hall. It's kind of the only space unless we open up the theater, which we're still kind of wrestling with. It's possible that Memorial Hall Barroom would be available for something like that, but I think we're still working on some of the finer details. But I think an operative word in your question is about 35 people. I'd recommend that before you look to hold a meeting, you're sure how many people are going to attend it, just so you're not running into that capacity limit and potentially putting additional people at risk.
The current link to our capacity numbers that we know today is a link that's on our front page of our website, which I will show you at our website address at the end of this presentation.
If anyone else has any questions, feel free to send those in the chat. Currently, the last question that we have at the moment is, will Phi Kappa Hall be available for reservation, and about how many people, if so?
I'll take that again. So yes, it will be available. We have not mapped out what the social distancing capacity will be for that. When we do so, we can pass that information along to both Jackie and Taylor, as well as Greek Life, since we know that several different other organizations like to reserve the space.
And Leslie asked, assuming that student orgs abide by the maximum meeting attendance set by USG and/or Governor Kemp, can they use outdoor space for a signature single event, such as distance seating on the lawn for a movie night? and whether or not it's up to each department to assess and decide if this is allowed.
Yeah, that's the still we're in the waiting game answer. We're still waiting for what the university guidance will be for large event gatherings.
And in terms of departments deciding, if you're an independent student organization that is not directly advised by a department or division or entity on campus, say you have a volunteer advisor or you don't have an advisor at all, those decisions will probably be based on the guidance that you get, again, from the venue at which you are reserving that space. And so if that is Campus Reservations, Events and Technical Services, then you're going to use their guidance as far as that venue or space. If it's an off-campus venue or space, you will use their guidance. And our hope is that that will certainly be in compliance with what USG, if it's on campus, or with the Governor, Department of Public Health, or the CDC guidance for something that may be off campus. So Leslie, if that doesn't answer your question, make sure to follow up with us, or if you have clarification that we can answer, happy to do so, but hopefully that covers it.
Hannah is asking, do you make a room reservation, for example, in the journalism building through a different website, or would they do this directly with CRETS?
We handle all the academic reservations. So when we talk about academic reservations, that is all of the academic buildings across campus for the most part. MLC, journalism, Sanford, Caldwell, those are all considered academic classrooms. And those are the spaces that we are currently on hold until the registrar's office completes their fall redo of the fall schedule. So journalism does fall into academic reservations.
And then Robin is asking if, and I apologize if I mispronounced, the Cine Stovall Chapel, whether or not that will be available.
Our office does not reserve Cine Stovall. Cine Stovall is a separate entity of itself, and they're reserved through
Government relations.
There you go.
Specifically the community office.
Yeah, so what I would do is go to the UGA website and type in and do a search for Cine Stovall, and it'll take you to their website specifically for that venue.
And Leslie's asking, are there any student organizations represented here today that can share creative ideas they have for online meetings or activities? So we will actually be planning some alternative sessions in order for it to be more of idea sharing. This was more for sharing information out and to provide the opportunity to ask CRETS questions directly. But we'll definitely be providing other opportunities such as roundtables and our presidential summits to provide opportunities to share ideas out. Are there any other questions? We'll wait to see if anyone else sends one in the chat, but thank you all so much for attending today. We greatly appreciate it. And feel free to send out any other questions to our email, which is ugaels@uga.edu. But we did just receive another question. When using a room indoors like an MLC or Tate, will they already be set up in a way that follows social distancing guidelines, or can organizations move the chairs?
Okay, that'll be based on the facility. For example, a lot of spaces in academic buildings have preset furniture. So the furniture will not be removed. It'll be up to that individual building to determine how they block off their space. So to answer your question, if the seat is blocked off, then you cannot undo this sign so you can sit there. So there's no options on academic spaces where the furniture is pre-designed, pre-designated. Within the Tate Student Center, all of our rooms have been readjusted, and we ask that you not move the furniture. It's there specifically to allow the safety of 6 feet social distancing.
Any other questions?
Jackie, there was another question there.
Yes, Taylor's going to be reaching out and sending a message about the question and the situation. Any other questions for the group? And if you think of any other topics or things you'd like covered in future Zoom sessions, please feel free to email those to us as well.
If you have specific questions about events regarding meeting spaces, academic spaces, large event spaces, the UGA chapel, or even how technically you can use some of the technical equipment within in the rooms if you want to do some Zoom meetings or streaming or whatnot, all of the phone numbers right now are on the front page of our website. Even if you don't know who to contact, we've kind of lined it up. We have a Google line set up for each particular area of expertise. So if you have a question about the large event spaces, we have a Google number for that. If you're looking for someone within Campus Reservations, we have a Google phone number where you can reach a reservation staff, and we'll get you connected as well. So the last thing that I'm just going to put up here, just so you can all have the information, if you want to write this down, here's the information for our website, has all the information, all of our policies, pricing, way to get a hold of us. And on the front page of this website also has the latest information and that link to all the capacity numbers within Tate Student Center and Memorial Hall and the chapel, which we spoke about. And then our email address as well.
Well, thank you so much, Greg, and the rest of CRETS. We greatly appreciate it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us within ELS or to reserve@uga.edu. But thank you, everyone, for attending today.
Thanks, everyone.